I'm Van Sebastian here with my co-host S.A. Baz Collins for this week's Written on the Edge Season 10 Episode 34 interview. We're going to be catching up with Nathan Burgoine. That's right, he's back discussing his latest high-low books, Dogs Don't Break Hearts, and the original Stuck With You. So if you don't know him, let's get to know our guest. Nathan Bergoine is a tall, queer writer of mostly shorter queer fictions. His stories live somewhere in the Venn of Romance, YA, and Spec-Fic, but always queer. He grew up a reader and studied literature in university while making a living as a bookseller. His debut novel, Light, was a finalist for a Lambda Literary Award, and his debut YA novel, Exit Plans for Teenage Freaks, was a Prix Aurora Award finalist. A cat lover, Nathan managed to fall in love and marry Daniel, who is a confirmed dog person. Their ongoing cat or dog detente ended with the rescue of a husky. They live in Ottawa, Canada, where socialized healthcare and gay marriage have yet to cause the world and the sky to burn, fall, and cave in. Nathan, welcome to the show.
It's wonderful to be back.
Had to add the burn given what our summer's
Yeah,
doing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Everything's on fire right now.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I get that.
And I also know you actually are in your second husky now, right?
We are, yes. So we coach passed, and we did that thing that dog parents do where they're like, okay, we need to take some time and really mourn and like, c come to terms with the fact that, and then I love my husband, but I walked into the room one afternoon and it was like maybe 3 weeks later, and he like closes his laptop because he had all the rescues open. It's like, but a huge part of it is, you lose this access to, so huskies are very strong-minded, and they add a schedule to your day, whether you want one or not. And with both of us working from home, it turned out that was super important. And we were really feeling the crunch of not having someone telling us when it's time to go now. And so we went looking and we found another lovely husky. His name is Max. It's short for maximum, which is about all you need to know.
Excellent.
As in
And
to the
Yeah. Oh God. He does 0 and he does 10, and that's it.
right, right.
well, I ask that because it feels like a dog plays very importantly into one of the two books we're discussing today.
It sure does. So there's this thing in Ontario where to graduate you need to collect a certain number. They originally called them volunteer hours. It's now called community service hours because someone finally twigged to the fact that if you force kids to do it, it's not volunteering.
Mm.
And so if you want to graduate high school, you have to earn like 40 hours of sort of community service. And a friend of mine was talking about how their kid was just flailing because they're socially like introverted like to the max, and they're like, I hate every option that is available. And just in a random discussion, I was like, I'm sure that like dog walking or showing up at like dog shelters and like scooping up poop won't be glamorous, but I'm sure that would count. And they looked into it, and sure enough, and so that sort of stuck in the back of my head as something that would be quite useful in a story about high school life in Ontario, because it's a part of your high school life in Ontario.
Mhm.
Uh, and then when another story idea did occur to me about, I was discussing with some friends about how weird it is when you first enter the queer community and you have sort of like your first partner, if you're dating, and then you have your first breakup. And you realize that you have kind of also broken up with the friend group because there's only a little small number of you. And now, like, you both share that group, and it's this one tiny little ecosystem. So I wanted to explore that in the high school setting of like, what happens when you have a bad breakup? Because it can mean you lose your friends if
Mhm.
they've sort of sided with the other person. And went a step further, made this individual a gaslighting jerk, which we've all bumped into in our lives. So he's a kid. Beck. He hasn't even really been dumped because one of the things Beck decides, like, oh, we were never dating in the first place. I don't know where you got that from.
Oh.
And tells basically their entire shared friend group that he's this weird, creepy stalker guy who won't leave him alone. Beck is not quite ready to sort of stand up for himself or try to face down this entire room of hostile people, but they also had all decided to volunteer at the same place. So suddenly he's scrambling for a new place, and he decides a dog shelter. So dog rescue. And that's sort of the basis of where the book comes from.
Love it. So, you kind of alluded to this too with the teenager who helped in real life. Let's talk about what high-low is and then dive into Beck's story a bit because I'm,
Yes.
I'm sure readers haven't heard of it because it's
Yep.
kind of a new concept. or at
Yeah,
least his
it's
way
one
of
of those.
phrasing the
Yeah,
concept.
it's an if you know, you know concept, which is unfortunate, and a lot of publishing works that way. So high-low has been around for a while, but what it is it's high interest, low complexity, or high readability, low complexity. So the idea being, it is written for people who perhaps are English as a second language, or who have learning disabilities or reading disabilities, or just are reluctant readers. So like a big book is just never going to be something they want to touch.
Mhm.
And so the idea behind them, specifically though, is that the characters are still like them. The reading, the narrative is of an appropriate level for them. It's just not knocking them out by being overwhelming or too complex. So one of the things that happens, it's funny, way back, I used to volunteer at a literacy program. And one of the really frustrating parts, was like teaching adults to read, is that you're working with like kids' books,
Right.
because that's the complexity
Hmm.
level that you're at. Which is,
Hmm.
it's not interesting. So it's sort of that notion carried to teenagers. Like if you've got kids that aren't reading at the level that's expected of them at a teenage reading level, they still need books that are interesting. You're not going to give them like the Berenstain Bears,
Right.
Right.
right, to help them learn to read. So yes, it's just fantastic. But of course, like all things publishing, it wasn't particularly good at being diverse. Gasp, right? Um, luckily,
Shocking.
there are, yeah, luckily there are a few publishers out there who have realized that, and started reaching out and looking for people. And I really appreciated this. One of the things I loved about working with Lorimer was how they reached out specifically looking for people to speak to their own lived experiences in this line. They call it real love. The one I'm a part of is called real love, which is
Nice.
relationship based, romance based, but queerness. Yeah.
Okay. So let's dive into Beck's life with that in our pocket. He's at the dog shelter.
Yeah.
How
So
does he
he
begin to heal?
Yeah, so he has like a bunch of immediate missteps. So the of course he chooses it on the fly. He is literally standing outside the room where the Rainbow Club is gathering and realizing there's no way I'm going in. I just nope, and noping out. And he's facing the wall of like displays for companies and organizations that are like, hey, we'd love to have a volunteer. And he's like, oh God, oh God. And his friend is texting him saying, well, what are you going to do instead if you're not going to come with us? And he looks up and his eye happens to catch the word rescue. And he's like, well, I need to be rescued. And he reads the rest of the poster and it's an animal rescue. And he's like, I'm going to help out dogs. And then he basically races home and like fills in the volunteer form and is like, I really hope they'll take me because I have no idea what I'm doing. And he gets there and he goes through his training and he thinks it's going to be great. And then who pulls up in one of the vans, but his ex, not an ex, whatever his ex was, new boyfriend, who volunteers there too. So that's not awkward at all.
Yeah.
And so mostly it's a story about him trying for the first time in his life to function when he doesn't have this friend group to fall back on, when he doesn't really have anyone he can vent or explain or talk to, except for these new people he's met at the volunteer place, minus Oliver, the guy who is now dating his ex.
Mhm.
And of course, there's a very temperamental and opinionated husky that he gets sort of in over his head with trying to train and reach. And that's a big chunk of the healing is him sort of connecting with his dog because like a dog would never break your heart, and that's where the title comes from.
Mhm. Love it. And also, I believe the book jacket teases at something of a happy ending. I'm trying to
Yes.
not
So
spoil it.
yeah. So again, it is part of the real love line. So it is also a romance. And so one of the things again, and this is me sort of playing with that the fun little trope of the fact that especially when you're younger and queer and you first come out, and if you're even when you're in places like cities like Ottawa, where like the dating pool's kind of small, right? Like we we kind of have this little narrow group of people that we happen to know. Um, so the romance in question that blossoms is with his ex's new boyfriend, who also didn't know all the details of what was going on between the two of them and so forth. They have a lot of communicating to learn to do. And there's a character who works at the shelter, Heather, who kind of is the slightly older queer voice of wisdom, who's there to remind. I mean, we all had those in our lives if we're lucky. I had some amazing drag queens and bears in my life. And she sort of takes him aside and is like, yeah, so it sounds like your ex is a gaslighting asshole. Because no one said that to him, like and
Right.
that you need that kind of influence in your life when you have no one to talk to, saying, okay, I'm not saying you didn't make any mistakes, and here are the mistakes you made in order, but this is not all on you. And yeah, so that it was a lot of fun to write that sort of jarring, oh, maybe I'm not a complete waste character, because I think that's a pretty fundamental experience of being a teenager. When you make a mistake, you feel like you have ended the world,
Mm.
right? There's no such thing as a small emotion when you're a teen.
Right.
So it was a lot of fun to write that. My previous book was kind of rom-commy, like Stuck with You was a lot lighter.
Hmm.
Beck goes into a few darker places where he's just like, I have ruined everything and there is no coming back from this. Yeah.
Love it. Well, again, I don't want to spoil it too much, but let me ask it this way: How long has it been out?
Oh, so that's a really funny question to answer, because Lorimer does this staged release thing,
Okay.
which I've never bumped into with any other publisher. But they released it in Canada in April,
Okay.
and then everywhere else was this month.
Okay.
Um, Now, I believe it's got something to do with library budgets being different as to when they're spendable and delivered in Canada versus most of the rest of the world.
Sure.
But
Mm.
so it's technically just released now in the US and everywhere
I
else,
love
but
it.
it came out in April in Canada. So it's really funny. Like you have a book release and you're kind of trying to talk about it when it happens, but it's crickets because it's only out in Canada. It's like no one can get it. So it's
Where that question was going, and that may have just been struck down, is have you had any feedback yet?
no, I've had a little bit, and actually, I was incredibly lucky, pleased, chuffed, whatever. I don't know what word to pick here. I sent it out to a few YA authors that I really adore, including Kay and Milky. They wrote Losing Hit Points and Lonely and Happy Town, two other high lows that I loved. Paul Kacha, he wrote again two high lows because I tried to reach out to some high low authors. He wrote The Cub, The Player. I know I'm missing another one. Leon Levels Up, I think, and a book that isn't a high-low, but oh my gosh, you need to read it, called Recommended Reading, which is about this like awesome chubby bookseller who has this like romantic Jane Austen-esque romance farce. It's so good. And Michael Thomas Ford, who I have adored forever, and was super formative for me. And he writes YA as well as adult gay fiction, and all three of them gave me quotes. Um, so I
Awesome.
actually got to have a
That's
cover
lovely.
quote, and I got to have like inside what other authors have said about this book page. I've never had that before, right? Like it was
Love
just
that.
yeah, so I mean, it was just wonderful to gather. Like, I mean, I shouldn't say I've never had that before. Some people have said some lovely things, and I believe I had one of them in my collection, but it was the first time that it was just so positive, and everyone offered. Like, it didn't feel like, hey, am I bothering you? It's like,
Yep. Well,
um,
so dovetailing on that, let's check in on Stuck With You because has been out since late 2023.
yes. So Stuck With You, I finally get to say this, earned me my first starred review. It was fantastic. So the school library journal, I won't get the wording right, but they gave it a starred review and said perfect for fans of Heartstopper, right when Heartstopper was like
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
right?
that's
So
great.
I got that email and I'm like, huh? It's like, it was great. So it's been super well received. It became my best-selling book. I have never had the experience before of so in publishing, again, I'm sure you've talked about this multiple times on the show, but in traditional publishing, there's a thing called an advance. So you sort of get paid against sales that you hope you will
Right,
make in
right.
the
Hmm.
future, and then as you get royalties, that eats away at the advance. But for the first time in my life, I earned out on my first statement, and that's never happened before.
Nice.
Yeah, it's incredible. So, and again, I have to put the majority of that down A to the School Library Journal star review because that it works.
Right.
And also, I mean, Kirkus was quite it was positive. A few other places were really positive about it in like the library circles because Hilo, it's a library market. Like, reluctant readers aren't out there running to buy books, right? That's kind of in the name. So, it's
Yes.
about teachers and librarians connecting kids to books that they hopefully will love. Um, so it's a completely different market. It's like its own little microcosm, and I got very lucky with Stuck with You. So hopefully I can repeat the success with Dogs Don't Break Hearts. But
I mean, luck is 10% luck. It is 90% all of your accumulated work over your lifetime coming together in the culmination of this amazing, amazing two book series. And I hear three, not series,
well,
but
yeah. So my third, I am trying to work on a third right now. Yes, it doesn't have a home, so we'll see. Because I maybe got a bit too political because I pitched it, and
Ah.
it was kind of like, ooh, I don't know. I'm like, but I'm gonna write it anyway. We'll see.
well, so let me ask this. Is there anything about Stuck With You or Dogs Don't Break Hearts that we didn't think to ask that you want audiences to know? And Baz, chime in if you have questions too.
I would say the only thing I would say ahead of time, and it's kind of funny, it goes back to I'm a tall queer writer of mostly short queer things. Um, if you're not if you're not a young adult reader, like I love reading YA, don't get me wrong, and I read a ton of YA because of course I do, I'm writing it.
Mhm.
But it is so funny how often reviews of these books have come with, it was really short. That's by design. It's
Hmm.
if you read a Hilo book, it's going to be short. So, if you're not someone who enjoys a shorter book, or a novella, basically they are novella length works. They're bound and printed. Then, I maybe won't suggest that you check out Hilo. But
Fair.
yeah.
Baz, did you have
The one
questions?
question I have is how do you get the books into people? What I'm not getting in this whole
Yeah.
genre is how do if I were to write one and yeah, I got someone interested in publishing it, how do you get to promote that to a community that most people in the world don't even know exists?
So that's where it comes back to that if you know thing. The publishers that you could get interested in this are the publishers already doing it. So they
Oh,
have
okay.
the connections to the librarians and the teachers and the organizations that promote to libraries and teachers. Yeah, so Lorimer does it, Orca does it. There are quite a few publishers that have a division or an imprint specifically devoted to high-low. I would, and I say this, I enjoy being an indie writer in with my romance. I like, being hybrid in the sense that, like some of my books are published for Bold Strokes, others are, other Lorimer and so forth. I would never try this as a solo. I would never try to publish a high-low indie because I don't have those connections. I think it would just
Mm,
that it'd be like throwing a rock in a river and it would just splash and go away.
right, right.
So if I don't find a high-low publisher that wants like the new idea, it'll stay trunked until I maybe find some way to find it a new home.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's good because I
Yeah.
wasn't quite sure. I'm like, I don't even know how, I can't quite recall how you fell into all of this and doing it. And
I
that's
was
why I didn't
reached, yeah,
understand, yeah, how that whole
yeah.
process
They
worked.
reached out to me, and actually, I should mention the my editor for both of these books has been Alistair Thompson, also a wonderful writer. He just released a YA novel himself, Birch and Jay, which is like a post climate fiction novel. It's really cool. Anyway, so Alistair was the acquisitions editor for this particular line of their books. So he was out there looking for people who'd written YA from diverse viewpoints. And I believe he found me through Paul Kacha and because of Exit Plans for Teenage Freaks.
Gotcha. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then how well it received our queer novels in our novellas within that genre. I mean, how does that work?
So it's kind of the same effect you have in publishing where it's smaller. So there's the market for high-low and then it narrows down again.
Uh-huh.
But I will give again, I can give Lorimer a lot of credit there. They've been clever, frankly, in the marketing and merchandising. So, like, there's the bundle of all of the titles of any given year that the libraries can buy at a better deal, things like that. So, you know, you kind of some of it you do absolutely outright in your face, like, no, this is queer. If you want queer content, we have the queer content. They're certainly not shying away from that, but there's also quite a bit of like, would you like our entire bundle of titles that are for high-low? And just tuck those ones that are in there
Ah,
too.
gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah. But funny, a lovely story actually. Just the other day, we were planning a vacation, and so I always check out if there's libraries wherever we're going. And there's a lovely library there. So I reached out where we're heading in Prince Edward County, and I was like, "Hey, I'm a local author. Well, not local, but I'm going to be visiting. I have some high-low YA books. Would you be interested in the donation of these titles? I don't know what your, what your
Readership
people,
is, yeah.
what your readership is, basically. But they were so excited, and they were like, "Yes, please do, please do." So, yeah, it's Hilo is a very library and teacher-driven reading experience. Like, it has to be the teachers in the libraries being the gatekeepers, or rather the gate openers to hand these books to the people who need them.
Okay, love that. Okay. Second thing I just want to mention before we move on to other parts of the interview, I turned on transcripts here, and I just want to say, in the spirit of anti-meme, Nathan, when you rattle off, it's like the gooch following anti-meme around trying to get all the words in. This transcript thing is smoking.
I'm your sponge.
Oh, I do
I
speak
just
quick.
imagine it going.
You can blame speech therapy for that.
Okay.
Or thank.
Yeah.
So we have danced around this topic. Your third book and the topic for it centers around a
Oh, yes.
very political issue right now. Should we talk about
Oh,
it
yeah.
first as the lead in?
Yeah, so I pitched the title, the working title of the book that I'm trying to work on right now is called Never Neutral. Um, and it's around these God's forsaken neutrality movements that are popping everywhere, and I hate their names so much. Like that, it's this like weasel word version of bigotry. Like they say, "Oh no, neutrality." I'm like, well, we all know what's the phrase? Neutrality favors the oppressor and always targets the victim. Like, it's. But anyway, so yes, across Canada, and it's happening in the States as well, and it literally just happened in outside of Pulse, actually. There are these organizations or groups or people, or sometimes it's little grassroots groups, sometimes it's like, the governor, deciding that cities shouldn't favor people. And in the spirit of neutrality, they're like painting over the rainbow crosswalks, pulling down the flags,
Mm.
putting in bylaws that are like, no, 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 we won't fly anything other than the city flag because cities are supposed to be welcoming to everyone. And that's the line they use, is that, and like, in fact, I had this quote from one of the first article where I bumped into it, where I just got so angry. It was, our hope was to see if people also wanted the town to just be neutral and basically a blank space, a place where everyone can just feel comfortable and welcome as they are. That word, everyone's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Mhm.
Who's everyone, Stephanie?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yep.
So I mean, let's be clear. When they say neutral, they mean like straight, white, Christian.
Whitewashed. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like that's
Yep.
what they mean. They mean,
Yep.
like they want people not to be uncomfortably reminded that other people aren't like them. And that's all it is. It's just bigotry with a shiny, mealy-mouthed word.
It's
And
polishing a turd. That's what it is.
yeah, I loathe it. And it's working, is the thing that's killing me, is that a lot of these small towns, they have enough people that will show up to these votes and they get it put through. And now the bylaw is like, nope, the only thing cities, and you have like mayors speaking out and saying, like, this is awful, but it's the law now. So I have to pull down the pride flags, and people can still do, and they'll always say things like, people can still do it on their own homes. And I'm like, again, though, like,
It puts
how
the
much of
lifting
your
on the
city
individual, right?
yeah, and also how much of your city is out there actively, frankly, promoting the straight white Christian stuff? Like, if you really looked at what's going on in your city and what, like, how neutral are you really? And neutral only works as a word when you actually mean these straight white, heterosexual, Christian, able-bodied, all of the, default shit is not default. But that's who they're trying to appease. And Anyway, so I had bumped into this story, and there was a young queer student talking about how they just like it immediately empowered the bullies at high school. And immediately they were bumping into more on social media, as well as, like it's permission. When you do things like this, saying that,
Hmm.
oh, we don't have to treat you special. It's never been treat you special. It's recognize you exist, but okay.
Yeah.
And it opens the floodgates to this kind of horrible bullying. So the story I'm writing is about a kid who has fled. He's come to Ontario from one of these small towns. His parents have basically sent him to live with his aunt. And there's two factors or two parts to this. One is it just got too bad, that he just couldn't handle, because he tried to stand up and tried to speak out about, like, no, don't paint over the crosswalk, and basically got snowed under over social media. And so he's basically had to run. But the one of the tipping points and one of the factors I really wanted to point out, and this is something I see replay a lot, is it wasn't until his twin sister also started getting like bullied and negative attention, even though she's straight, that the parents decided he needed to leave. And this is a parallel I'm drawing. So Ottawa, Canada, is one of the first places that got a hate and bias crime unit, which, hooray. Um, but the reason we got a hate and bias crime unit was because there were people beating up gay people who then killed a straight person. And that's when it became important enough that they had to deal with it. Right. And so
Wow.
there's, right. So I always cringe when people sort of celebrate that, like, Ottawa had a hate and bias crime unit, and I'm like, yes, but they only had it because these bigots threw a straight person off a bridge. Like, it was fine when it was gay people getting beat up, um, but when they killed a straight person, then the world was upset. So I wanted to touch on that, how for the family, they don't realize some of the things they're sort of telling this kid by, like, well, oh, it's affecting your sister as well. We need to get you out of town.
Hmm.
Like, why wasn't it enough when it was affecting him?
Right.
That sort of disconnect and I can see, and I see this happen with like parents who are like, it's really hard on my not queer kid, the stuff that's happening to my queer kid. I'm pretty sure it's harder on the queer kid, like, and I get it. You're a parent, you care about your children, but there's, you see things like, oh, that god awful Boyne book, where the whole frame of reference was how hard it was for the kid to have a trans sibling. I'm like, no, this is not the narrative.
Yeah,
Like,
Hmm.
exactly.
um, anyway, so that was what I was going for with this book, and I did the whole outline, and I sent it to, and it was great. I love so many of the people, and I obviously I won't be completely blunt about this, but it was one person who shut it down. Everybody else loved it. So unfortunately, that's the way
I say,
publishing
oh,
works
there's the
sometimes.
neutrality.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. That's the way it works. But I'm gonna try to finish writing it. I have pitched it to another publisher. They had an open submission period, so I pitched the outline to them. I'm still working on it. But I find I have a hard time writing on a project when I don't have a deadline. So I'm not making a huge amount of forward motion. But hopefully it'll find a home.
I
Yes.
hope so. It's important.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It is very
yeah.
important. All right. Are you ready for some get to know you questions?
Yeah.
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
Okay, well, before we get started with that, just remember, if you like what we're doing here and you like that we are promoting queer content by wonderful authors and producers of other media for our queer community, please remember to like, subscribe, do all the things, support us at patreon.com/rope podcast, or a one-time donation at buymeacoffee.com/rope podcast. And with all of that said, can you name a movie that was better than the book?
Blade Runner.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
I really didn't like Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. Uh, and
Interesting.
again, yeah, I'll put an asterisk. Like, there's a certain version, one of the director's cuts. I don't know. I can never keep straight which one's which. But
Okay,
I
right.
like the version where at the end he has the dream about the unicorn, and you realize, oh, like, I like that version.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Well, which fictional character would you most like to be friends with?
Ooh, oh gosh. You know what? Mouse, Michael Mouse Tolliver.
Oh, excellent choice.
Good
Excellent.
choice.
Yeah. I'd like to talk to him. Yeah.
I think Mouse would be good. I also think Mona would be great too.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But of course, you should, if you were with
Yeah.
best friends with Mouse,
Yeah.
you'd get Mona, It's kind
That's
of a
true.
package deal.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what is the most fascinating fact that you know?
I'm not sure if it's the most fascinating, but it's the one that makes people happiest on the regular. So I'm gonna share that one. When I was with my neurologist, dealing with some other things, just in casual, in passing, we had discussed exercise and stuff, and she mentioned that not everyone gets a runner's high. So exercise does not actually release endorphins in like everybody. So if you are one of these people who has been like, and I was one of them, running and running and running and thinking, people lie. There's like no happy moment of euphoria. All this is the only thing I get out of this is, I'm healthier, I hope, and checking off something on my list. You are not alone. This is actually a lot more common than you think. Some people after exercise do not get a high.
I love that. I love
That's
that.
funny.
All right. Well, I see. Was your favorite subject in school?
Art. Specifically, I had this wonderful class in British Columbia that was literally three-dimensional art. So we got to like craft and build and like sculpt, and it was great.
Lovely. Okay. Before making a telephone call, do you rehearse what you're going to say?
When was the last time I made a telephone call? I mean, um, no, I don't think I do. Yeah, I really have to think about that. No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I'm right there with you. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. What current event or causes are you most passionate about?
Smashing the patriarchy. And so
Yeah, right.
um, you know what? Right now, the fighting the book bans is just that's been taking a lot of my mental space. Doing what I can to make sure that queer books are still in freaking libraries.
Hmm.
That's pretty important.
Hmm. That part right there. Well, if you could visit anywhere in the world, where would that be?
Ooh, um, oh, this will sound kind of sad. I really loved Edinburgh the last time I was there, so I would just happily go back. Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of wasting the opportunity to go somewhere I've never been, but at the same time, I'm a real big fan of like I order the same meal at the restaurant every time I rewatch movies that I like. So I'm very much I already know I like this, so I'd like to do it again. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
Edinburgh.
Yeah, I'm that way about Copenhagen. I love Denmark, and
Yeah.
that is my favorite city. Yeah. All right. Well, who, if anyone, was your first celebrity crush?
Scott Bakula, specifically in Quantum Leap.
Ah, okay.
Dr. Sam Beckett, just trying to make things better.
In
Often
every
sure.
way possible.
Yeah, I don't know if that's truly my first, but that's the one that immediately springs to mind. That was, like when you're that young queer kid and you have that moment of oh no. I'm pretty sure he was a part of my oh no moment.
Yeah. For me, it was Christopher Plummer in The Sound of Music. I was like 8 years old when I saw it, and I'm like, what's he doing?
Yeah, so like I'm sure there were like because I remember like even when I was much younger watching shows and being oddly preoccupied with the men in them.
Yeah.
I think like there wasn't the click until like
Yeah,
of a crush.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
but that's the earliest recollection I have is when he
yeah,
walks in on Julie Andrews. I'm like,
yeah.
you know,
Something just happened. Yeah,
move over, Julie.
yeah,
Go
yeah,
sing in the corner.
yeah, yeah.
All
Oh, when
right.
he rips that Nazi flag though.
Oh,
Anyway.
I think it was my first time because I think it was the first time I realized, oh, men can be pretty.
Yeah.
All right. Well, final question. What is your favorite personal recipe that you make, and are you willing to share it with us?
Yes, I make a kick-ass ginger cookie, a Swiss ginger cookie, and I make them every year for
Mm.
Christmas. I actually even they're like a plot point in Faux Ho Ho, one of my novellas, and I will absolutely find the recipe and I will put that up. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, love
Yeah,
that.
people request them. It's like my number one requested thing when it comes to food is people ask me all the time for my cookies. Yeah.
Love it.
Absolutely. Well, you made it through the list. Bravo.
Yay. So, what's up next for you? Got any book appearances? Any other interviews?
No, so I think the next thing for me is going to be CanCon in October. Yes,
Okay.
October. Yes. So that's a local science fiction convention that is super open and welcoming to all the other genres here in Ottawa. I'm really looking forward to it. They've moved venues this year, so it's a lovely little sort of homegrown con that got a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger. And this year they're moving from like the small little hotel that's downtown that was maybe not the greatest to an actual like event hotel. And it's out in suburbia, but at the same time, it's going to be so nice to have options to go get a coffee.
Right.
It's like that, but yeah, it'll be nice.
So, where is the best place for people to keep up with your updates, what's coming up, as well as any future releases?
So if you go to nathanbergoine.com, I am the only one. But if you Google Nathan Bergoine, it's just me, which is lovely. It's the best thing about having that surname. And I am on Blue Sky as well. I have ejected from the metas and Twitter over the last couple of years.
Bravo.
It got
Bravo.
pretty awful. Yeah, I
Well
was
done,
chased off
you.
Twitter, ejected the meta. So yeah, it's just Blue Sky and my blog now. So
Nice. Love it. All right. Any final words of wisdom?
um, oh gosh, be gentle with yourself. It's rough right now.
Love it. Perfect. All right.
And never
Thank you,
neutral.
Never neutral.
Just thought I'd get in that little, come
Yeah,
on, let's
yeah.
promote the book before it's done.
Yeah, it's not
I
even
wonder
an
if we'll
option.
keep the
It's totally
title. I have
worth
I have a terrible history of having my titles accepted. Like never.
But do you like the titles that come out of it?
Yes, actually, I shouldn't say never because dogs don't break hearts. They went back and forth with, and finally we're like, no, okay, that's the best title for this book. I'm like, yes, it is.
Awesome. All right, folks, we'd like to extend a huge thank you to Nathan Burgoine for joining us. Nathan, thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us and putting your work out into the world and being such a proud and out queer author. We need more of you.
There are
Although,
more.
as you pointed out, you're the only one.
Well, the only Burgoyne.
There you go. All right, we at Written on the Edge are proud to introduce you to new media by queer content creators. So if you enjoy learning about new artists or hearing our thoughts on entertainment media, please like, subscribe, do all the bells and whistles so you get the alerts for new episodes. This show was produced by Rogue Ravens Media. For our disclaimers, links to social media, or to sign up as a guest, visit www.ropepodcast.com. Tune in next week for your queer media fix.
Bye-bye.